Hey everyone, it's Steve at Kettle Haven Ranch. Welcome back. Today we're going to be starting a big project for the Backcountry Horsemen of Washington State. It's a charity donation for an auction for fundraising for their operation maintaining trails in the National Forest, keeping them open for not only backcountry horsemen but also just regular hikers. Join me as we start this project coming up next. Alrighty, moving into the project. I have picked up a nice slab of wood called madrone. This slab of madrone is about 1.5 inches thick, about 30 or so wide, and about 12 inches tall overall. It has a live edge. That's the bark edge. What's called a live edge to it. And unfortunately, it has some cupping. I don't know if I can get how to make this show up on the video. Okay, hopefully you can see this. We have some cupping to this slab. See the space there in the center on the bottom where we have a gap? That is called cupping. And that is where it is warped. The actual slab warped after it was cut. It wasn't cured. We're going to have to work with that on the CNC machine. Otherwise, we'll end up with, on the edge we're going to be using, we'll end up with a much deeper cut here than we will on the sides. It'll be shallow on the sides. That might not look correctly the way we want it to turn out. So, what I'm going to do is put this in the CNC machine, set it down, clamp it on. Then I'm going to run the tool path I used to resurface the waste board or spoil board, as some people call it, on the CNC machine. That is the sacrificial deck of the machine that you have to replace occasionally and resurface occasionally. For that, I use a, let's see if I can get in here, a 1-inch diameter end mill that is made specifically for resurfacing. What we'll do is set this up and let it run its tool path to level off the top of this to the actual CNC machine and not to the bottom of the cupping. So in the center, this won't be on the CNC machine when we're doing the final cuts. It'll just be mounted from here and here on the edges, and then we're just going to forget about that. This isn't going up against the wall. This is going to be too heavy to be mounted on a wall. It's going to end up having to have a frame made and sit on a tabletop or mantle type place. All right, let's get started on this. I've got to change camera positions and lighting, and we'll go take it from there. Coming up. Okay, we have the slab mounted in the Shapeoko CNC machine. The new bit, the 1-inch end mill surfacing bit, has been installed and zeroed. I'm ready to start the tool bath. Here we go. Let's see how it works. All right, I'm going to pause there, make some adjustments to the tool path. Overall, it's looking good. We're getting a little bit of burning from the bit. I'm going to pull the tool path from being centered out here over to about here. Okay, we've reset. Ready to go again. And I'm going to pause there and adjust one of my clamps. Now that that clamp's moved, we'll start it again. Well, that brings us down a lot leveler for where our working is. Major hump was right here, as you can see by the outline where we had the hump where we did the cutting, and we burnished it a little bit with the bit, even at the higher speeds. This is awful hard, thick wood. Next thing I'll do is see how that sands, some 60 grit, and we'll see how that turns out. Okay, I thought I'd get you guys back up to speed here. I've been doing some work off camera just because the camera's in the way and it gets really annoying. But what I've done, since we're having a lot of burning, you can see that, I've changed the tool path because going this direction, we ended up having the burning. Coming back on the grain, not so much. So I changed the tool path to up and down. That did the opposite, just made it more striped. What I do need to do is get down enough here where I'm pointing. I don't know if you can see that. We have saw blade marks here when the slab was cut, and those need to be taken down. I tried sanding it. This stuff is just too hard to sand that well. So we'll just keep leveling it off here and surfacing it until we get down to the right height. While that was running, I loaded the new tool path. I made this tool path a little bit narrower as I'm using a generic resurfacing tool path. I just brought it in a little bit so it doesn't come as far over. And we're going to try cutting a little deeper. You can see over here on this edge where it really was barely touching the surface. It wasn't bringing up chips to take away the heat. So I'm going to go just a little bit deeper this time. That's looking pretty good. I think what I'm going to do now is when we get, oh boy, that feels good. Gonna get the sander out with some 60 grit with the orbital and knock this sort of burnishing or burning off. See how I can do it down there on that far end with the tooling marks from when this was cut in the mill. To do that, I have to move the camera though, so I'll stop and update you as I go along. This is after about 20 minutes of sanding with the orbital DeWalt sander with 60 grit disc on it, the 5-inch. You can see I still have some of the burn marks. I'll keep working on that. Oh, sorry. I hit this with a little bit of 1 pound shellac. Use that to bring out any of the cut marks, anything really obvious stands out, and it's going to be finished in shellac in the end. No worries, no problem at all there. I have gotten rid of a lot of the saw marks that I had over here. I'm happy for that. And I'll continue on. That'll be dry here in about 2 minutes. And then I'll continue sanding and sand probably most of that down. I'm going to work my way all the way down. And then we'll go ahead and set up the piece, see how much workspace we have to work with. And I'll go back to the drawing board and design something for it. Well, that cleaned up real nice. Took about maybe 35-40 minutes total, and it looks really good. So we'll move on to the next stage. Have to lay out. Looks like I'm going to have about 22 inches width. Throw this up here, and about 9 inches of height. So 22 by 9. I already know it's 1.5 inches. I'll go to the drawing board, which I use the Vectrex VCarve Pro software, and I'll doodle up something, and we'll start cutting. We are ready to begin cutting the letters now, the text. I have the 60-degree V-bit, 1/4 inch shank bit installed and ready to go. Let's see how this is going to work on this wood. Well, I will admit I made allowance for this knot. I moved everything up a little bit in the tool pass, but I didn't make allowance for this. So until that D cut, I was pretty much holding my breath. Now we're going to reset with the 1/4 inch end mill and go ahead and do the rough cut for the 3D modeling that's going right in here. Once again, the 1/4 inch end mill is installed and set for this cut. I have the tool path loaded in the control program, and we'll go ahead and start it. And that brings me to a very good point. You can see me checking the clamps. I forgot to tighten them back down, You should always tighten down. Make sure you're holding your project firmly between every bit exchange or toolpath. There we are with the roughing. Now I got to change bits again, and we'll set up and start the long cut on the finish cuts. Now we're all set up with the 6.2 tapered bit. It's a 1/32 round nose bit, and we'll give it a shot here, see if we got it. Now we are at the point where we've had one of two finishing cuts completed. The second finishing cut is at a 90-degree angle to the first one, and it cleans up. It's cutting the same tool path as far as the 3D model, but it's cutting it in a different direction to clean up any grainage, any problems with grain that the bit had on the initial cut. As you can see, it's pretty rough looking, but over on the very right hand corner, right below the bit, that's already cleaned up as I ran just a little bit to make sure everything was going good. And we got a fresh battery in the GoPro, and let's finish this cut. And there we are, the final cut is done, and it's ready for some final sanding and finishing. I still have to do the signature block on the back side, but as that will contain the address to this video, I have to wait until the video is posted. So we'll wrap this one up here. At this time, I'm not sure exactly how to finish this, whether I'm going to use shellac or polyurethane. That's I'll do a little more fine sanding on it and decide from there. As usual, if you enjoy the content that we're providing, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell for future videos. Also hit the like, that sure helps on our little score that YouTube keeps. And be sure to check out our website at www.kettlehavenranch.com, where we have products for sale, and you can custom order items off of that site if you'd like.